Hi there. Today I was looking for something different to do near where I live. So I was on a Google map and I found this area that I've never even heard about near where I live, Waterloo Quartzite Outcrops State Natural Area. So then I decided to look that up. Well, once I found out that you can't even go on that site, I decided to look at what else was in my county. And here's a list under the Department of Natural Resources of things in my county, and I was looking them up. And I wanted to see what this was, Avon Bottoms. So the background noise that you hear is my grandson and his girlfriend watching a movie, so don't pay any attention to any of that. Besides that, Avon Bottoms. Here's one picture showing the wildlife area, and here's all these little links that tell you what you can do. Like, for example, this has parking. There's a map you can look at. Tells who owns it. Some of it is private land, and so then you can't go on that. Recreation tells you how much it costs, which these do not have admission fees. And they tell you what you can do. Let me go down here. You can hike, fish, hunt, trap, wildlife viewing. There's certain wild edibles that you can get, like, say, plums or cranberries, but you're not supposed to collect seeds. If you click on this link, it tells you specifically. But what you can't do is, then there's a lot of stuff here. Camping, collecting of animals, collecting of plants, non-edible parts of the herbaceous plants. You can't have drones, no geo-catching, horseback riding, except there's very few places you can. No rock climbing, no vehicles. So it's pretty limited with that stuff. So anyway, back up here, I'm going to click on the overview. So then they tell you, and I'm sorry that this is right on the edge here, but they tell you things that are in this Avon Bottoms. It's a floodplain forest, wet prairie, and they tell you all these different plants and animals that are there. So I was looking up some of those because I don't know what some of them are. And under this area, it's common lianas, which I didn't know about the wild cucumber, and I looked that up. River grape, I've eaten wild grape. Woodbine and common moonseed. So I just want to show you the woodbine. What I do is I just highlight it, and then I click where it says search Google, and I click that. So I'm not going to put a link in because this is just a Google search. Oops. It's a Google search on here that you can Google that yourself. So there's some pictures of the plant, and one of the things that amazed me was wild woodbine cigarettes. The Woodbine cigarettes is this is from Wikipedia, a British brand of cigarettes. As of 2019, owned and manufactured by Imperial Tobacco. Named after the woodbine flowers, native to Eurasia, but it also grows in Wisconsin, obviously, because that's what I was looking at. So the history here, and I'm going to move down a little. In common practice, the unfiltered high-tar woodbine was one of the brands collectively known as gaspers until about 1950, because new smokers found their harsh smoke difficult to inhale. A filtered version was launched in the United Kingdom in 1948, but was discontinued in 1988. Woodbines came in 4 different packs: 5 cigarettes, 10 cigarettes, 20, or 50 cigarettes. They were often known as Woodies. Okay, so I'm going to move it up here a little. So here we're talking about marketing. And then the ads were never played on TV, however, as all television commercials for cigarettes were banned on August 1st, 1965. And I believe they're talking about England here, the United Kingdom. And I want to show you something about that. But first I want to show you a picture of the Woodbine cigarettes, which is off on the side, and we'll get it on here. Here we go. It's photographed by Mussy Somme, 1916, of Albert Somme, France. So this is what one of the packages look like. So I decided to see about when cigarette ads were banned on TV, and what came up is on the History Channel, President Nixon signs legislation banning cigarette ads on TV and radio, but this was April 1st, 1970. This is in the United States. Nixon, who was an avid pipe smoker, indulging in as many as 8 bowls a day, supported the legislation at the increasing insistence of public health advocates. Alarming health studies emerged as early as 1939 that linked cigarette smoking to higher incidences of cancer and heart disease, and by the end of the 1950s, all states had laws prohibiting the sale of cigarettes to minors. In 1964, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, and the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, agreed that advertisers had a responsibility to warn the public of the health hazards of cigarette smoking. I'm going to move it up a little here. In 1969, after the Surgeon General of the United States released an official report linking cigarette smoke to a low birth weight, Congress yielded. So I'm not quite sure where I was because of that phone call that I had to answer, but Congress yielded to pressure from the public health sector and signed the Cigarette Smoking Act. This act required cigarette manufacturers to place warning labels on their products that stated cigarette smoking may be hazardous to your health, which is still on the cigarettes now. And then there's a podcast here. The Surgeon General has determined that smoking kills. And by the early 1970s, the fight between tobacco lobby and public health interest forced Congress to draft legislation to regulate the tobacco industry, and special committees were convened to hear arguments on both sides. So there was a big to-do, and the tobacco companies didn't want to give it up. And the last televised cigarette ad ran at 11:50 p.m. during the Johnny Carson show on January 1st, 1971. So now that's all because I decided to look up one thing that I've never heard of, Woodbine. And this is back on the Google search just to show you a picture of the Woodbine, since we're talking about it. It looks like this, and it is a vine. So in this Avon Bottoms, which there's one picture of it, 1,649 acres. There are so many interesting things here. Shagbark hickory, hackberry, cottonwood, bitternut hickory, bur oak, American elm and basswood, sycamores, black willows, buttonbush, dogwoods, poison ivy is abundant. And then this word that I didn't know before either, linneas or vines. And we've got all sorts of other stuff. So this is just a moment. So this is partially meadow, partially low river bottom savanna, and abandoned river channels. Abandoned. There's blue joint grass, big and little blue stem, Indian grass, sedges, swamp milkweed, wild indigo, shooting star, blue flag, pale spike lobelia, cardinal flower. This is amazing to me because I live right here and there's a lot of the stuff that I don't even know the names of. I think I'm going to be spending some time learning this because I love being out and looking around at things. And this area is probably heavy mosquito infested once it gets warm, but in the early spring there's no mosquitoes. It would be a good time to go as long as I have boots, it looks like. I'm just going to make one quick jump back to this on the History Channel about smoking, because I was reading some more on the page before I close it up. But it says, tobacco has not been the only thing smoked at the White House. In 1978, after country music entertainer Willie Nelson performed for President Carter there, he is said to have snuck up to the roof and serendipitously smoked what he called a big fat Austin torpedo, commonly known as marijuana. And there's this link on here. When cigarette companies use doctors to push smoking. That might be my next video. I have to say that I smoke cigarettes and I wish that I never would have started. I didn't start until later in my life. I quit for a year and a half, which is a big deal. And then it like lied to me and told me it was delicious, and I went back to smoking cigarettes. And now every morning when I get up, I cough. You can tell by just listening to my voice that I'm a cigarette smoker. It's really bad stuff. And I have to say that because I smoke and I know it's bad, I own stock in some tobacco, and it makes really dang good dividends. And isn't that terrible? Anyway, Woodbine. Cigarettes, Woodbine the plant, Avon bottoms, and this part of Wisconsin. A lot of these, looking on the map here, little square rectangles and squares are farms in this area. Let's see if I can back it up. So this is the natural area right here, and you can see these fields. Okay. Before I end, I did decide to do the Google map of Avon Bottoms, which is right in here. And you can see, I love these Google Maps. This is somebody's farm, the street. I'm looking at the satellite area. You can drive right in here. Here's parking. It really doesn't look like much. Let's take this little guy and see if I can see anything. I love the little guy, but I don't see anything I can look at. Let me back it up. And you can come with me. We're flying around here. This is a pretty big farm over here. Let's take the little yellow guy. Well, we can go right here and look. So you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like in the area. All right, so this looks like this was taken in the fall or maybe spring. This is a field with the weeds are gray and dried up, and so we're looking at fields, some trees, there's a fence right here probably. Somebody's barn, a couple more buildings. This is what it's like to drive down the roads here in some places in Wisconsin. This is a much nicer picture. This field, you can tell that there's like a creek right here. Can you see that? It's not very clear, but it's running right through there. That's cool. All right, so I'm going to leave you go. I'm grateful for you and here at your service.